they didn't collect the payroll taxes when everybody got paid. They waited till everybody filed their tax return to get their money, and guess what happened? Nobody had any money. You got that right. So
You're listening to The Road to Financial Independence by CPS Investment Advisors, where smart planning and sound strategy keep you steady as you grow.
And welcome back to another edition of The Road to Financial Independence. I'm Mike Riskin, president of CPS Investment Advisors. And as always, I'm joined by my partner and CEO of CPS, Peter Golotko. Hey, Pete.
hey, Mike, how you doing?
Terrific. Another beautiful day here in sunny Florida.
Another beautiful day. What are we talking about today?
Today's episode will really fill you in on what we're all about. Really, what I would say is really the foundation of financial success.
I agree. It is the foundation. It's where everything starts.
That's right.
Because without this, you don't really have any financial planning to do.
Yep. And our clients have heard this a million times, and it's something, the phrase, pay yourself first.
That has become a often used phrase. I remember when I was growing up, Mike, way back when, my grandparents, we lived across the street from my grandparents, and they always had a late model car. They had a nice house. They didn't go to work. They used to take us out to have ice cream or buy us some stuff that my parents couldn't afford to do. I remember asking my mom one time, are they rich?
Yeah, because it's
She
seen
said,
that way, right?
No, they're not rich. They have a pension. I'm like, I've got to get me one of those. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty nice to be able to work your whole career and retire with your income indexed for inflation for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
We don't get that anymore.
No, where do I sign up for that?
Right. Well, there's only a few places, government employees,
Right.
At-risk employees, first responders, police,
Right.
They have pensions. But the everyday Joe like you and I have to save our money for some point in time when we have to use it to live.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much in the private sector, for the most part, pensions have pretty much gone away at this point.
Yeah, they have. And it takes a lot of money to replace your income.
It sure does. Yeah.
And if you don't start planning early, you may not make it.
Right. Money and time.
But
absolutely, yeah.
But there are people who go through life and their mind works. They have to spend everything they bring in.
Right.
And it's very hard to change that. But for most people, we have to realize when we either start working or we're getting on with life that we need to save money for that future.
Right.
And that future's coming.
Right.
And I remember hearing when I was younger, it's going to get here before you know it. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a long ways away. And here it is. Here it is.
Yeah.
And had I not planned early on, I wouldn't be in the position I am. And it works. If you give yourself a lot of time, you can build a lot of wealth without putting a lot of money away. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. I don't have the money to put away.
Right. And you made a key phrase there. You just said building wealth. Because there's a huge difference here between making a lot of money in your career and building wealth. And they're completely independent of one another.
So nobody's ever spent their way into being wealthy.
That's right.
Okay. When you spend your money and when you spend all of your money, you make other people wealthy.
That's right.
And who goes to work every day? You do. You should pay yourself first. You're the one getting up in the morning, going out, making a living, bringing your paycheck home. Who are you paying first? Are you paying your cell phone bill?
Right.
Your mortgage payment, your insurance? Who are you paying first? You should pay yourself first because there's going to become a point in time where you're going to have to live off of what you've saved. Social Security, if you're lucky, you're going to get between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. Think about that. If you just got $3,000 a month, how well would you be living?
Yeah, this day and age, it's a lot tougher to do that.
And
sure.
Social Security is what it is. It's supposed to be for social insecurity.
Yeah, it's a safety net.
A safety net, not for normal people who have the ability to save money as they go. And I know times are hard. They really are. And I hear it all the time. Expenses have gone up. In the past 4 years, 5 years, we've had almost a 30% increase in our costs across the board. We had huge inflation. Mm-hmm. And that really hurt everybody. But we also had increase in earnings too. Right. So as inflation went up, most people made more money, right. Okay, and covered the inflation. But when you come down to paying yourself first, it's all a choice. Mm-hmm. It really is. You're the only one who could do it. There's very few things in life we can control. Saving money is one of them.
Right.
And the way to do that is to sacrifice.
Yeah.
At some point in time in our lives, our financial lives, we're going to have to sacrifice. We can either do it early and sacrifice for a short period of time, or do it later on in life where we have to sacrifice for a very long period of time.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd rather see people start off and do it early. You don't have to put a lot away when you do that. However, if you're later on in life and you haven't put enough away, it's never too late. You've got to start now.
You have to start some point.
You have to start now because you've got to give it time. Time is your friend. If you don't have time may not, you may not have a friend out there. You're going to be rolling the dice trying to make more return on your investments and adding a lot of risk than you would need to if you put money away.
And I think at this point it's also important to remember we say pay yourself first, which is sort of the beginning of the process. But
yes.
Let's remind our folks what truly being financially independent means and how we defined it.
So
and what's the end result and how we get from point A to point B.
For years, everybody talked about retirement.
Right.
I want to save for retirement. Well, we don't use retirement anymore. We use financial independence, okay? So financial independence means that you build a pile of assets, financial assets, stocks and bonds and other assets, that sends you a check equal to or greater than the check you're making going to work. At that point in time, you have a decision to make. Do I want to keep working? Or do I want to stop working?
Right.
You can afford to do it at that point. But the focus always needs to be that income stream, how to build your assets to the point where it does that. And, I get a lot of people that do that throughout their life, and they get to a certain point, well, they've already replaced their income. They can go out and take a little bit more risk, invest in some other businesses or whatever. Sure. That's not a problem because they've already replaced their income. They've secured it. So it's about building wealth and financial independence. For most people, it means not having to worry about going out to eat, not having to worry about if a bill comes in, if your car breaks down, if you need to buy a new car.
It's maintaining the lifestyle you were used to, and you've set the standard for yourself while you were working.
Correct. And a lot of financial advisors will say, in retirement or when you stop working, you need about 70% of your current take-home income. I'm going to say that's not true.
I agree with you.
I think it's going to be at least 100 to 110%. And because times have changed, very few families have their grandkids living across the street.
That's true.
I mean, when you talk about families being all across the country, grandparents are the ones who usually travel, because it's easier for them to do that. And they end up spending more by doing that. Yeah. But we see a lot of people, at least they're not taking an expense cut. They are spending as much as they have, so they've got to replace that income.
No, it's so true. I think we see that. We'll meet with clients and they say, "Oh, well, I'm going to have my mortgage paid off, or I'm not going to have a car loan anymore." And somehow, some way, magically, if they were spending $10,000 a month while they're working, I don't care what the mix is. Somehow they end up spending the same amount. The same amount of money.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no more mortgage, no more car payments, but yet they can't
do the family trip or
that's right.
have the kids over for things.
And that's
pay for things.
You should be able to do that.
Correct.
If you plan properly, if you plan early enough.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then, go back to the pay yourself first. Just walking through our folks through that concept. You mentioned. If you're paying an AT&T bill, you're paying your cell phone bill, you're making everybody else rich. So how does that? You take home $10,000 1 month. So are you saying that the first, say 10%, that $1,000 needs to go into my own savings account?
So first, the hierarchy of saving.
So planning for the budget, really, right?
If you're an employee, the hierarchy of saving is this. The first 10% of your gross income needs to go in your 401k. For you to make it to an older age, independent of Social Security, you've got to save at least 10% of your own money in your 401k or in a Roth or 401k. And then you get, if you get a match, that's just on top. Okay. Sometimes it's 3%, so you get 13%. Start off doing that. That should be the first goal. If you can't do that right away, you need to start ratcheting up every year. Every year you make it hurt a little bit more, tighten your belt. Nobody has ever said, Pete, I'm so angry at you that you made me save too much money. Nobody's ever said that.
Never heard that, huh?
But let me tell you what, when people don't save enough money, their lifestyle, they have to make a lot of really difficult choices at that point. Yeah. So the first part is your IRA or your 401k. That comes out before you even touch the money.
Right.
Now, back when the IRS first came out, back in the early 1900s, they didn't collect the payroll taxes when everybody got paid. They waited till everybody filed their tax return to get their money, and guess what happened? Nobody had any money. You got that right. So they learned. They said, well, we're going to take it before they even see it. That's the same thing the 401k does. It takes the money out before it ends up in your checking account, and it's a forced sense of savings. Now, after that, you need to work on a emergency fund at home. Okay, that's very important. I always recommend people get up to about, I'd start working on 3 months at first. I want you to get up to about 6 months of a reserve, but you're not going to be able to do that right away. That's going to be a long time coming. That's going to be saving a little bit more off the top when you bring your paycheck home. Now, that's something that, each individual has to choose how much they're going to save. We can run some numbers, but how much it's going to hurt.
Yeah. And that's 3 months of your monthly spending. So
monthly spending.
If
correct.
you're used to spending $10,000 a month,
you need
then
30
you need
grand.
30 grand
Right.
just as a starting
and
point.
we want you to get to 60.
And we want you to get to 60.
Right. And that's important because you should have disability insurance. And disability insurance has a wait. Usually it's between 3 and 6 months. Mm-hmm. Let's say you get disabled and you don't have these reserves. You're having to come out of pocket until the disability kicks in.
Yeah, your income can get turned off. So that's very
correct.
scary. Yeah.
It is. And, that's having disability insurance, and that ensures your income stream. That's a very important insurance that people should have.
Yeah. Yeah, and even without so disability, we talk about loss of job.
Correct.
Or even some horrible AC or car repair that comes up out of nowhere that could really
instead of putting on an 18% credit card, you could write a check and make that go away. Now you're going to have to continue to save more.
Have to fill it back up.
Or you're going to have to fill it back up, but that allows you to avoid losing money when it comes to paying interest on these.
I like to say it helps me sleep better at night.
It does. It does. Having some
money. I know
money,
something happens.
You can write a check and make that problem go away. Yeah. Absolutely. So, after that, after you saved in your 401k and you save towards your emergency fund, then you make the decisions where you're going to save where you're going to spend the money.
So that's your starting point for your budget, not how much, not what your salary is.
We're not going to say, we're going to save what's left over, because there's never anything left over.
No,
there's
because if you did your budget first, there's no way what you're going to pay yourself is 10%. Yep. You got to get that out first.
That's correct. You got to get the savings out first. Then you spend. Now you might have to make some difficult choices, but here's the thing: make the difficult choices now.
Right.
So you don't have to later on, especially if you're working and you got an income coming in. Don't wait to make the difficult choices when you don't have an income coming in, when you're not working.
Yeah.
That's very dangerous. So, I'd recommend people, tighten their belt now. Make it hurt a little bit. You don't need the extra this or the extra that. Stop going to Starbucks. We don't have it in our portfolio anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Stop going to Starbucks because, that's just... You can make coffee at home. If you're trying to build wealth, stop letting your money leak out of your checking
Just
account.
really pay attention to those things. And the earlier the better. I mean, it's obviously, if you're 25, single, and are just getting going, it's super easy to start your budget at that level. If you're 40 with 2 kids and already have 2 cars and this and that, it's a little more difficult to adjust. So you have to build into that.
But you've got to make difficult choices.
But you do need
What's important to you? Are these big vehicles that are worth a lot important to you?
Right.
More important than having a standard of living when you're not working?
Yeah,
that's very important too. Most people don't want to have to live off of their kids. Obviously, my kids couldn't afford my standard of living. They'd have to go back to school a couple more times.
And they certainly don't want us moving back in with them when we're 70. So
I'd have that refrigerator door open all the time. It would come off the hinges.
Although that could be good payback time. That could be a good plan. But
that's right.
Absolutely.
But, it's difficult to save, but these are all choices. And if you say, "Hey, Pete, I just don't make enough money," well, maybe go back to school. Maybe get a different job, a better job. Maybe increase your value,
right?
So your income goes up. It's America. There's ways to do that here. Opportunity galore out there. Just try to figure out how to do it a reasonable way where you're not killing yourself doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Nirka and I, when my second job I had, we were doing fine, but we were young. We didn't have Anya yet. We were working hard, and on the weekends, we set up this entertaining tailgate company where people would want us to come out and help set up their football tailgates and pay us pretty good for that. So anyway, just finding ways to hey, you know what? Instead of sitting on my couch and watching football all weekend, let me figure out something that I can make money from.
Absolutely, or instead of going out and spending money,
and then making money. Correct.
Right, and it's very difficult because we're a consumer society. There's always something really neat to buy,
especially now with Amazon.
Absolutely,
out there,
and they deliver
Walmart
tomorrow, or
online.
even the same day.
Uh-huh.
But you got to control yourself. You've got to prepare for this end of life thing, not end of life thing, but end of working thing,
right?
Where you're not stuck behind a desk for the rest of your life.
That's right. All right. So we've hammered the pay yourself first. Now let's talk about time, because I think time is a key ingredient in this whole thing in terms of how much you have to save and when you have to save it. Obviously, the sooner the better. And we bring this now, that might be an obvious statement, but I think if we look at the numbers here, it's pretty eye-opening. And whether you're 25, 35, 45. So my point is, if you're 25, it's better than starting to save at 35. Even if you're 45, it's better to start saving than you're 55. So the numbers are astounding. So maybe talk a little bit about time. And as Einstein said, the greatest discovery of mankind is compound interest.
Okay, you're absolutely right. It's amazing. On this chart, it's benefits of saving early and often.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that the top, investing from ages 25 to 65, earning a 6% return. All right, we're investing $7,000 annually.
Okay,
that equates to an IRA.
Right.
If you put that $7,000 in annually, it grows to almost 1.15 million.
That's pretty nice.
Pretty nice. A 6% return. Now, if you started just 10 years later and started saving from 35 to 65, you got half the money.
Wow.
Yeah, 580,000. So a little more than that, a little less than half the money.
Yeah.
So 10 years walloped you. Why is that? Well, when you start early, it grows quicker. You got to get through that first 10 years before compounding hits. But once you hit that critical mass, it starts growing exponentially. Well, he waited 10 years. So this guy got a 10-year head start. By the time the person started at 35, this guy had already had the 10 years. He's already starting to compound.
Yeah.
So, and then if you save from 25 to 35, earning 6%, it's amazing. You have the same amount of money that you had when you started saving at 35.
Right, so that's somebody that saved for only 10 years, the first 10 years, and then just stopped. And they have about the same amount of money as the person that saved for 30 total years, but it was 30 years after the fact.
30 years after the fact.
That's an eye opener right there.
That's an eye opener. So $70,000 got to 561 in the same amount of time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Saving from ages 25 to 65 in cash earning 2%. You don't even have to hit it out of the park. 2%.
Which,
right, 2%
putting it at
going to give you $431,000. But a 6% return invested properly is not a hard thing to do.
Right.
So,
And the amazing part about that last one to me is when you look, the line didn't really cross over the second person until age 55.
Right.
So just starting 10 years earlier and really just putting it in a bank earning 2%, it took 30 something years just to even catch up earning a much higher rate of return.
Right. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. That's
truly
astounding.
Amazing. And that's why when people get to compounding, their eyes open.
Yeah.
Because the numbers start getting really big.
Yeah.
And they continue to get really big.
And we talked about that on one of our other podcasts. And for those of you frequent viewers of our podcast, remember the whole 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1.
Yep.
And so if you check back to that one, that's a great reference as well. So save early, save often.
Save early, save often. And the next chart just goes to show what I was talking about earlier is it takes about that 10 years. It doesn't matter what the return is. It takes 10 years to build that critical mass. Don't lose it in that 10 years. And you'll see a 10% return, 7.5% return, 5% return. After that 10 years, it starts to separate.
Right.
But before that, concentrate on putting the money away.
And we've talked about this before too. Why are those first 10 years so critical? Because every 10-year cycle, on average, in the markets, the markets will go up 7 years, down 2 years, and be relatively flat 1 year. Mm-hmm. Why is that so important? Because in 2 of those down years, what your gut may be it might be painful. The world's ending.
I'm losing my money. I lost everything I put in there.
Correct. I've lost everything I put in. Well, you didn't, but you're losing. It feels like you're losing everything you put in there. And if you make the mistake of actually stopping or taking the money out, you have to start back to ground zero.
Yep. You got to go all the way back.
That's the biggest mistake. Yep. Worse, whatever rate of return you might or may not make, that is the biggest mistake.
And during those very scary times where people are saying, it's different this time. It's never different. But they scare you. Have a little ice in your veins. Just keep doing it because what's happening is that money you're putting into your account is buying things on sale. Now, we all know historically when things go down, they come back. When you're buying 2 for 1 now, right. When it comes back, you got double the amount of shares. So you're gonna build wealth a lot quicker that way.
Yeah. For those of you savers in 401k plans, I mean, you need to get excited when the market goes down.
That's right. You dance around, increase your contributions, and if you're gonna slow your contributions, I would not do it during down markets.
Right.
Those are the best opportunities. If you have to do it, wait till the markets goes up a little bit, and you can do it at that time. But you want to get things on sale.
Correct. No, absolutely. And so basically, what matters is building the habit and growing it over time. And it really is a habit. Mm-hmm. I think we've talked about this before too. And one of our real culture at CPS is education, getting out in the community. And really, when you look at high schools and colleges, not really doing a great job in the personal finance space. And I know our industry is trying to change that. But
I don't think a lot of people had experience in the personal finance. I started off the podcast with my grandparents. They didn't have to learn about personal finance because they were taken care of.
Sure.
All right. So my parents learned their personal finance from their parents. See what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
We learned it from my parents. My kids are learning it from me. It's all what's brought down. So, it's all about education. And even in the colleges, it's hard to find people who have that education, who's walked through those steps that can teach this because it's not readily available. It's not in everybody. People don't grow up doing this kind of saving.
Yeah, and really, I mean, a lot of families don't talk about money.
No.
And it's kind of a taboo. So encouraging families out there to start talking about money with their kids, letting them have an allowance or some type of chores where they can earn money, tell them the value of the savings, and get them those habits early on. Teach them about credit cards. Mm-hmm. I hate the first thing you do when you walk onto a college campus freshman year is that table with the towel, the free college towel, and the credit card. So warning them about that, how to manage a bank account, those types of things, right?
And a lot of times, I've talked to parents who have teenage kids going out to work, and they ask me how they should handle that. And there's one couple that kind of opened my eyes on the right way to do that. What they did was their child didn't have to pay any income tax. So when they got their check, it was basically everything other than payroll tax.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So what they did was they took 1/3 and put it in the savings. That's their 401k and savings. 1/3, and put it in. They put a Roth, and then 1/3 went into a savings account. That was the income tax, and then they got the 1/3. And what they told me was they didn't want their children to think that minimum wage is a livable wage, because if they don't have any bills, they can spend everything they bring in. It's a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
So they kind of put reality back in and started taking the taxes and savings out so that they were used to that when they got their check.
That's a great way of looking at it. And even, again, for speaking to younger folks, I mean, not getting the housing costs under control. I think that's another, even if you had to live at home for a year or two,
yes,
and save that money, I mean, or be realistic about the rent, get a roommate before you buy something, or buy something that you can truly afford. But so many people can't pay themselves first, because right out of the gate, they're killing themselves with their housing.
Yep. And it's important to pay yourself first in the beginning, because it gives you a lot of time.
Yeah.
So if mom and dad are okay with you living with them for a couple of years to save some money, now you better be saving some money.
And helping out around the
house, because that could be building your future. And we showed you how quickly this stuff grows and how powerful it is. But yeah, I think keeping your costs as low as possible, doing things you don't want to do. I mean, everybody wants to have their own place, but you'll have your own place eventually. You're going to be adulting a lot longer than you think you are.
A lot sooner than you want
That's
to be
right.
at the end of the day.
So, younger kids, keep your expenses low. People who are working, who are doing this, trying to save some money, make some tough choices. And usually it hurts about 30 days. The first time you go through the month, and so the next month you kind of get in that rhythm, and then saving becomes pretty easy for you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Peter. And certainly for those out there, we've done a lot of we've spoken a lot at local colleges and high schools in the area. So certainly that would be something we'd be, if anyone out there wants us to continue to do that, just let us know. We'd be more than happy to do that. It's an important thing for us. Any before I close out with some key points and an action challenge, any other final thoughts on today's segment?
If you do one thing, just start putting money away that you can't touch it. Okay, just get that. Just start. Yeah. You got to start with something and then just keep adding to it. You're going to be very happy you did.
Perfect. So some like Pete said, pay yourself first. That's the theme today. I think you've heard us say it 100 times. Yep. Live below your means.
That's a big one. Live below your means. That means you don't spend everything that comes in the door.
Right. You
got savings. And that's tough to do.
And it keeps you out of credit card debt.
It does. Well. Oh, credit card debt's horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible.
And stay consistent. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yep.
There's going to be challenges. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be pay cuts, recessions, family emergencies, medical. Life is going to happen.
Yep.
And so stay consistent. Stay the course. Don't be discouraged.
Yeah, and that's why having savings at home is so important. Life happens, and life isn't cheap. It's not cheap at all. Every time life happens, it costs a lot of money. So having the ability to not have the stress when those things come is going to help long term. And
so here's our challenge to you folks out there. Before your next paycheck or next payday, set up that automatic transfer to your savings. And I think doing it, having that automatic link, like you said, just like the 401k, obviously do that first. Mm-hmm. But if there's opportunity to save more than that with the emergency fund and whatnot, set up that automatic link and just get that money out. Make yourself one of your monthly bills
and promise yourself you're never going to touch it.
And promise yourself
you
won't.
It's too hard to get it in there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks, Pete. I think pay yourself first, get it in early, and build wealth and achieve financial independence.
Yep, that's the key.
That's the key. All right, Pete. We appreciate you
talking to you, Mike.
Yep. Well, thanks again for joining us for another episode of The Road to Financial Independence. If you like this content, don't forget you can find us on Spotify, Amazon, or now Apple Podcast. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as investment, legal, or tax advice. CPS Investment Advisors is a registered investment advisor with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Registration does not imply any level of skill or training. The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of CPS Investment Advisors. The information discussed is believed to be accurate at the time of recording, but may not remain current. Listeners should not consider the discussion or any information shared as a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell any particular security or investment strategy. All investments involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Before making any investment decisions, listeners should consult with a qualified professional about their individual circumstances. For additional information about CPS Investment Advisors, including our services and fees, please review our Form ADV, which is available at www.advisorinfo.sec.gov.